What is going on with HOA dues in condo communities right now? Have you noticed how much higher they've gotten? Why is this happening? That is what we're going to talk about today. This is going to be a two-part series because there's more to it than just the high HOA dues. But for today, let's explain why this has happened in such a short period of time. So, before COVID, even in the early stages of COVID and beyond, a few years back, when you were looking at HOA dues, you were looking at condos to purchase perhaps, you would see rates for the monthly dues somewhere in that $300 a month range. Sometimes you'd even see it in the $200. That would be amazing. And then sometimes you'd see them in the $400 a month range, which felt kind of high. And certainly if they were in the $500 a month range, that just seemed ridiculous, way too high. Well, I don't know if you've noticed, that's the purpose of this video. If you look at condo communities today, you will see that more often than not, most communities now have HOA dues easily in the $500 to $600 a month range. Why is this happening? There are two factors that have hit these communities hard, and let's talk about it. The first factor is, of course, homeowners insurance. HOA communities have what's called a master insurance policy that takes care of all of the structures, the buildings, and so forth. So when you're paying your HOA dues, you're actually paying into insurance for the bulk of your property. Well, because of the changes in insurance, one, we have so many more homes zoned in the high fire zone thanks to the redrawing of the fire maps by CAL FIRE. Nearly everybody is in a high fire zone. That jacks up your rate. But more importantly, we've had many carriers leave the state, which leaves more limited options, which jacks up the rates. And simply stated, most HOA communities were not prepared for such a significant increase in such a short period of time. So how do they handle it? They handle it by raising HOA dues and or a special assessment. The second reason we're seeing such an increase in HOA dues is because of California's SB 326 law, also known as the HOA balcony inspection law. What this basically boils down to is that any communities with 3 or more units must have every balcony and every stairwell inspected. The law came into effect in 2024, and the deadline to have these inspections was January 1st, 2025, which is about 18 months ago. The inspection itself, pricey to get done, even pricier, the related repairs that were called out in these inspections for reasons of health and safety, code compliance, and just straight up deferred maintenance. Now, all of a sudden, these communities who were used to dealing with one at a time issues of a balcony here or a stairwell over here were suddenly faced with repairing all of them all at once. Now, there are some communities that were running very strong with their reserves, very strong in their budget, and are able to kind of absorb some of these new expenses. But honestly, the majority of the communities out there just were not prepared for it. They didn't have the money in the reserves. They didn't have the budget planning for it. Who could have ever known that this law was going to come into effect or that insurance costs would escalate so quickly? So how do they handle it? They handle it by, you guessed it, raising the monthly dues and or a special assessment. Now, that's just one part of the story, because not only do we see these higher monthly HOA dues, but it's affecting the lending out there in communities, and that has become a significant challenge. That is what we're going to talk about next week, because that's another complicated issue that takes a little time. I've taken a lot of complicated details and scaled them into this shorter video. So if you've got questions about today's topic on these rates and why it's happening, you know we're always happy to get a cup of coffee and go over it with you. All right, as usual, scroll through this email to find ways to search new homes, check out your home's value, or check us out on Google. You know what to do there. Better yet, you're already on my YouTube channel. Subscribe and hit the bell so you'll always be notified of new content there. And you know we've got you covered for open houses this weekend, both our own fabulous listings and beyond. Check the email where you found this video for all the details. And stay tuned next week for the second half of the high HOA dues story. Thanks so much for stopping by. I'll see you next time. Take care.